There's less people downtown. I know a lot of people who don't normally come downtown don't feel safe down here. They don't, they don't want to come here if they don't have to, because they don't want to see these people down here and they don't feel safe around them.
So homelessness is something that we talk a lot about here on To The Point, especially in the downtown Sacramento area. Many people that we spoke with today say the homelessness issue continues to have an impact on their businesses and their employees. But the mayor's office now says that the homeless population in the downtown Sacramento area is declining. So in tonight's main point, we are looking at the city's numbers and how businesses are really feeling about the issue.
The number of homeless people in downtown Sacramento have decreased 40%, 40% since September of 2022. From a high of 200 counted at 5 a.m. on a monthly basis in downtown Sacramento to 120 last month.
The numbers that the mayor is referencing comes from a head count done by the Sacramento Downtown Partnership. The count was focused on the downtown area of Sacramento that they describe as a portion of Sacramento's grid that stretches from Old Sacramento to 16th Street. The results show a decrease in unhoused individuals in the area. The mayor's office says that 43 out of the 80 people have gone into shelter. But how do we know that these people have stayed in a shelter or didn't move somewhere else throughout the city? Well,
we don't know for sure. What we do know, though, from history is that a lot of people who get outreach and are offered services, they self-resolve. I mean, they find a reconnection back to a friend or family. We're not sweeping people out of the downtown. We are actually reaching out to them. We're actually intervening with them.
The city says the increased focus on outreach to unhoused people downtown is at least part of the reason for the reduction.
It's not the end. It's no cause for, an outright celebration, because we still have so much more work to do. But for people who wonder and doubt whether or not the foundation we have laid is actually working and actually making a difference, this data is really heartening.
After leaving the mayor's office, we spoke with local businesses to see if they are noticing any changes over the last several months.
I've been here since like 3 months. I just bought this restaurant recently. Everybody dreams to have a business in downtown, so I was trying to get it. We have a problem with the homeless people. Like a couple months before, a guy walk in and they're asking for food, drink. Every time, even though sometimes we give them food, but it's not easy to give them every single time because they are not one, two, they're like more than hundreds.
I would assume that, with all of the energy and money and the like that the city and the county and that the state are putting into this, that, at some point something positive has to happen, which might just mean, more homeless people with a place to be that isn't living on the street.
The numbers are growing. I mean, there's new faces and there's more people than there were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And the current state of our city looks a lot worse than it used to. I think we need to make a decision as in this city whether we're going to be a destination for homeless people to come to, or if we're going to take a more active approach to cleaning up the city. You're never going to end homelessness. It's not going to happen. But we can make Sacramento a better, cleaner place.
And there's a harsh reality that we have to face in this state. There are thousands of high schoolers that are homeless in California. Last week, we told you about a universal basic income program in Sacramento that gives family about $500 a month with no strings attached to pay for whatever expenses that they choose. And a new bill in the California Senate would do something similar, but for high school seniors without a home. Morgan Reiner has the details tonight.
Selma Pacheco didn't have a typical childhood.
I started working when I was 11 years old, which is not something that typically happens, right? But when you need to feed yourself and you need to support your family, that means you're sacrificing your time.
She says she fit into the federal definition of a homeless student, which is individuals who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. That includes kids who are sharing a house with other people due to economic hardship, families living in motels or cars.
The biggest thing that comes to mind is my mental health. I think constantly being in a state of stress because you're constantly in survival mode is an extra layer that a typical student doesn't have.
Pacheco didn't have family to support her transition from high school to college.
I was couch surfing for most of that summer up until October. So 3 months into the fall semester is when I finally got stable housing.
Democrat Senator Dave Cortese says there are 15,000 homeless high school seniors in California who could qualify for $1,000 a month for 5 months under his bill to prevent them from falling into chronic homelessness.
To close that gap between losing their benefits under federal law and really not having any under state law at this point.
The program is expected to cost anywhere from $50 to $80 million at a time when the state is facing a budget deficit.
Those 5 months of stipends, and it's been proven up, will avoid about $85,000 a year in taxpayer costs that come with adult homelessness. It's everything from homeless services to incarceration to running shelters to providing food, CalFresh.
And a side note here, this bill is not financial aid and would not be classified as income, so it would not be taxed. It's up for its first committee vote tomorrow. Spring may have sprung, but it's still looking like a whole lot of winter outside. This was I-80 at Kingvale today with a single semi-truck just chugging along in the snow that just refused to quit. Monica, are we ever going to see the end of winter? We're going to move on from winter eventually.
Yeah, we've seen multiple closures along I-80, chain controls in effect for Highway 50. And now as the cold air works its way in, we are seeing some clearing for Sacramento, but Stockton and Modesto still with the showers as that main band of precipitation marches its way eastward here. Now, snow level has been coming down the hill steadily into Placerville, periodically into Auburn. It's a cold air mass that's in place. Temperatures only in the 40s right now for the valley. Plymouth, Jackson, all trying to get in on some of that snow, as well as West Point, Arnold, Twain Hart, all with snow right now. We're going to see the rain and snow continuing overnight tonight as our main low pressure system is still poised just off the coast. That's going to continue to move its way southward along the state, giving us a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow as well. Winter storm warning in effect through tomorrow evening, 1 to 3 feet of additional snow and down to 2,000 feet. We're going to see that winter weather advisory in place, 1 to 6 inches of additional snow coming in. As far as our peak wind gusts earlier today, upwards of 40 and 50 miles per hour. They have since backed off, so the wind isn't going to be the main thing we're looking at for tonight. It's going to be the return of those rain showers for the morning commute and more snow for the Sierra.
Sacramento Kings still hold the longest playoff drought in NBA history, but all hope is not lost for this season. We're showing you what all the talk is about today. That's after the break. They didn't win last night, but not all hope is lost. The Sacramento Kings, who have not been to the NBA playoffs in 17 years, are still very likely to move on past the regular season this year. Yep, I'm still wearing my purple. This was the scene at Golden One Center last night where we were hoping the Kings would beat the Timberwolves and clinch a playoff spot, but the Kings lost by 4 points. If the Warriors lose tonight, the Kings will go to the playoffs. If the Warriors win, the Kings will need to beat the Portland Trail Blazers tomorrow in the ABC 10 sports team. They will be in Portland for that game. And on this show, we are here to help get all the answers and hear your points. And this week, we want to know, what questions do you have about the Kings? We'll get them answered by our Kings expert, Matt George and Kevin John. You can scan the QR code on your screen, or, you can always text us at 916-321-3310. All right, the conversation about the state of downtown continues after the break. We're going to hear from the area's city council member and her new challenger. Yep, that's coming up. All right, it was a gloomy day across Northern California today, and here's a look at all the rain that we got in Sacramento. But of course, as the story seems to go this year, there's more on the way, right, Monica?
Oh, I know, right? We could just keep that in our script from day after day because this low pressure system will continue to move its way southward here. But we've got at least a solid one more day of this rain. The main band already making its way southward, although Stockton and Modesto were still in with the showers, and that snow level has been fluctuating at times lower than 2,000 feet. We still have that winter weather advisory in place through tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. with our snow level at 2,000 feet. Additional accumulation 1 to 6 inches. Higher elevations, it's a winter storm warning with about 1 to 3 feet of snow. This is what it looked like in Auburn just moments ago. Connie C submitting that in. You can see the snow coming down there in Auburn, and you can upload photos on the ABC 10 app to be a part of the Weather Force team. Highs for today, well, those actually happened earlier this morning. And then the cold air started to work its way in. It dropped temperatures, dropped snow levels. So we were in the 50s earlier today and then dropped into the 30s this afternoon for the foothills and 40s for the valley. 30s earlier this morning for the Sierra, and then quickly jumping into the 20s with solid snow throughout the afternoon. Our total accumulation for rainfall, about a ½ an inch to over an inch of rain for some parts of the valley and the foothills. And then for the Sierra, again, several inches of snow coming in. We're not quite done with the accumulation. By tomorrow, we're going to pick up an additional ½ inch to ½ an inch of rain in the valley, and about an inch or so where it's not snowing for the foothills. We'll get the rain showers, and our snowfall, you can see, totaling anywhere from about 1 to 6 inches for the lower elevations. We'll pick up an additional 1 to 3 feet for the highest elevations. Not to mention, we've got that chance of thunderstorms coming in as well. As the low starts to move its way southward, it is going to make a push inland. That's going to add to the instability, the lift, and a chance of those thunderstorms on Wednesday. Bit of a break Thursday and Friday from the active weather, and then we'll get right back at it for the weekend forecast. It's still a little bit iffy if that's going to hold together, but we'll be watching it. Highs in the 30s tomorrow for the Sierra. We're only in the 40s for much of the foothills after morning lows in the 30s. That's going to put us with snow for the morning. 50s along the coast, and we'll keep with those 50s inland as well. It's going to put us 10 to 15 degrees below average. We've got that chance of snow continuing into the weekend forecast for the Sierra. Slight chance for the foothills. And for the coast, a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow, and we'll see that as well for the valley. Dry day Thursday and Friday, slight chance of some showers heading our way over the weekend into early next week, and another chance next Thursday as well, Alex.
All right, thank you, Monica. Homelessness, affordable housing, and crimes like retail theft are high on the list of concerns for Californians these days, and downtown Sacramento is a place where these issues are very visible. Today, the council member representing that area, Katie Valenzuela, announced that she plans on seeking another term. So, of course, Becca Habegger sat down with her and her challenger to discuss their goals for addressing these chronic issues.
I'm here to announce my re-election campaign for City Council.
Councilmember Katie Valenzuela represents Sacramento's District 4, which includes downtown, midtown, and the WX Broadway corridor.
I know we have so much work to do. We've gotten so much started, but I want to stay in it because in the end, I love Sacramento.
I'm running for Sacramento City Council District 4. The election's about a year away.
Phil Pluckybaum is challenging Valenzuela for the District 4 seat. After the next election, with redistricting, it will include East Sacramento and no longer include the Land Park area. Pluckybaum works as a project manager at UC Davis Health and served for 8 years on the city's Planning and Design Commission.
Hopefully the voters of District 4 will agree I'm a well-prepared and worthy candidate.
I asked both candidates about homelessness solutions. Pluckybaum referenced the formal agreement the city and county entered into back in December to coordinate their efforts in addressing homelessness.
From my point of view, the city's responsibility stops at the public health boundary, right? The city is not a public health entity and should be responsible for code enforcement, law enforcement, providing housing, but working with our partners in public health to provide those services that are needed for folks experiencing addiction, mental health crisis, and other ailments.
Valenzuela mentioned the Miller Park Safe Ground site, which reopened earlier this month with trailers that had been previously used for quarantine housing during the pandemic.
Since Miller Park reopened, in just a couple of short days, we had 18 people in those trailers over at Miller Park, 13 of which I think came straight from the WX corridor. The other 5 came from the central cities. So we're really finding that if we have options available for folks, our teams are learning how to work with businesses and work with these encampments to get people into services. What we're finding is we've actually almost quadrupled the successful exit rate for chronically unhoused people. Something about giving people a stable place to sleep, giving them that security, some meals, some basic sanitation. Those caseworkers are figuring out how to move them to the next step.
ABC 10 has also been reporting on retail theft and other crimes that have caused businesses to shutter and people to feel concerned.
Anytime we have folks, choosing to break the law, we need to have adequate law enforcement that's responsive and appropriate, able to respond timely and prosecute those crimes. I know that we're seeing retailers taking a hands-off approach to that kind of retail theft, and I understand why. As a city and as a society, we need to figure out how to establish those norms and boundaries again and say that, that kind of behavior is unacceptable and enforce appropriately.
When we look at the driving forces behind these crimes, this is the things that work, gun violence prevention, youth intervention, mental health services, substance abuse services. How much of this can we take off our plate so that our officers can focus on those crimes that may still happen anyways?
Becca's with us now. And Becca, you were telling me something interesting earlier. You were saying that this race is a little unusual because of the challenger running against Valenzuela.
Yeah, often we see someone running against an incumbent because they think the incumbent is in some way falling short and the challenger thinks they can do a better job for the constituents. In this case, interestingly, Plucky Bomb says he's been preparing for a city council run for about a decade and was planning to vie for Jeff Harris's seat once Harris retired from council. But with redistricting, Plucky Bomb now finds himself living in Valenzuela's district. He says, in fact, I don't really view this as a race, the two of us against each other. I view this as both of us running at the same time in the same district, strong advocates for the community that, both have different points of view on different things. But I think two viable options that the voters should get to consider. So, super kind of interesting. It's not as contentious as it is just kind of two different flavors of candidates that voters will get to know a lot more in the next year.
Yeah, and a lot to consider. I mean, that's coming up in about a year. The 2024 primary elections are March 5th. Whew, this year's flying by.
It sure is.
All right, Becca, thank you so much. All right, here are some other stories that people are talking about today. Sacramento County and the Sheriff's Office just responded to a civil rights lawsuit filed against them. The family of Sharano Stingley, the man who died while in custody of the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, filed the lawsuit last month. Now attorneys representing the county are asking the judge to dismiss the claims. We have more on this case at abc10.com. The family of Alicia Reynaga, the 15-year-old Stockton Stagg High School student who was stabbed to death on campus by an intruder last year, is suing the school district and others for negligence and wrongful death. And then Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill targeting oil company profits into law today. It gives the state the power to penalize oil refiners if they are found price gouging or making too much profit off California drivers. And that law, it goes into effect in 90 days. We're right back after this. This is perhaps my favorite story of the day. The Sacramento Philharmonic was swinging today with the help of thousands of kids. Elementary school students from all over our area got a hands-on experience with the orchestra at the Safe Credit Union Performing Arts Center. Photojournalist Vanessa Bizzuto gives us an inside look.
We work with about 6,000 Title I students all over Sacramento County and help them receive a music education, a free music education. And the program ends every year with all those students coming down here to the Safe Credit Union Performing Arts Center, where they can essentially perform what they've learned with our musicians on stage.
Given that music education program in our schools seem to be lacking these days, we are fulfilling that role and responsibility, especially for these kids.
The fact that they can learn the curriculum and learn pieces of music and hum along to tunes and learn how to play an instrument or recorder. There's so many benefits of learning classical music. Just to have some sort of creative output through music, it's so important for development, problem solving, creativity, collaboration, and just the fact that we can help students with that, and then also have this experience where for the vast majority of the students, they've never been able to attend a concert before or even engage at all with professional musicians. It's really, really cool and it's really impactful.
Music education is so critical because it completes you. Without music, what a boring world it would be.
All right, can I just say that there are so many great things going on in our community, and we're always looking for positive stories like the one that you just saw. So please call us, text us, email us with some of the great things that are going on in your world. We always want to hear from you. And I do want to end things on a high note tonight. So do me a favor, just take a second, turn those speakers up, dance in your living room like no one is watching, because we're going to have these kids play us out on the show tonight. I hope you have a great evening. We'll see you here tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.